All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be touching on the top plays for the Saturday evening games. Now, we do have a 4-game main slate, but we also do have a 2-game small slate, and I just kind of want to touch on that just to start this video, because honestly, that we're getting some of the best plays in that small 2-game slate. And partially why I want to cover is because, you know, we do get a little bit of a good expectation based off of the props that are out there as well. Like Zach Wilson expected to play a lot, like he has the past few games. Jason Brownlee's a play that I think will continue to produce this week. He was someone that got a lot of hype out of camp at the start of this camp and didn't really produce the first 2 games. Someone that should produce again. Zonovan Knight as well. I think he's someone that's going to go ahead and step up. We got Tommy DeVito expected to, throw the football a lot like he has the previous 2 games. That's something I like, but really the biggest plays here would be looking at potentially Jake Browning. I think he's going to get a full half of football for the Bengals. Last week, there was only 2 running backs that got carries. That was Chase Brown and Chris Evans. I kind of expect that again. Our favorite receiver play really went off last week. I think he's a good option to go off. And then Charlie Jones as well. He's someone that played a lot, got a lot of targets as well. Like those 3 plays are plays that I really like the idea of stacking. And obviously, if Jake Browning gets there, these 2 other receivers should have a good likelihood of getting there. And then for what it's worth, Jake Fromm expected to play a full half of football. That's something that I like. And then that's really it. I just want to touch on that. Let's go ahead and get into the 4-game slate now. So let's go ahead and start out with the Baltimore Ravens. And just real quickly, we'll sort through my notes from those first 2 games. Here we go. Just so you guys see, you guys can pause it and look at it if you guys want. And then here's going to be the Cincy versus Washington game. I think Mitchell Tinsley, Kazmir Allen, both have a good chance to get some playing time. Just for what it's worth, if you guys want to look at that, you can. All right. Oh, Tanner Hudson as well. He's back. But looking at Baltimore versus Tampa. Okay, so we do know that there is a little bit of a QB3 battle, a little bit of a QB2 battle, but it seems like it's QB3 battle now going on between Anthony Brown and Josh Johnson. My expectation is that these 2 will be the 2 that are playing the most. We haven't got that confirmed yet. That is something we need before lineup lock. And once again, we need to get confirmation on Sean Ryan. Is he going to be active tonight or not? Because he is someone that could be a very good receiver play on the slate. Then also we had the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, Travis here, who really went off in the first game or in his last game. I expect him to be someone that gets involved again. And now on the flip side of it, we don't have much in this game. Okay, Sean Tucker's really the only running back that I want to be targeting. He looked impressive again last week. And that I say again because if you looked at the box score in week 1, you probably didn't think he played well. No, he did. And so it wasn't a shock that he really went out and had a good game in week 2. It just makes logical sense for the undrafted rookie free agent to get some playing time again today. And then my question is, can Trey Palmer do it again for the 3rd straight game for us? We will see. Not much there, though, for that game. Let's go ahead and get into the next game. So the biggest takeaway I want to start with for this Jags versus Fins game is that the Jags are apparently going to be playing their starters a full half of football. Now, take that with a grain of salt. We see reports like that all the time. It might just be a quarter and a half. It might just be 2 touchdowns. We could see a bunch of different variables there. Most likely they're going to play until they have gotten a good look at their offense, which could be a full half of football. And so for me, the biggest question mark that we have on the slate is, do we want to play Trevor Lawrence playing a full half of football? And then do we go with Travis Etienne as well? And then do we go with the other 2 pass catchers, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley? Heck, you go Zay Jones. That makes the slate much more difficult. The Jaguars have a lot of talent. I think they're the deepest receiver room. 1, because they have a ton of them, but 2, they just have a lot of talent there. Like, sure, Calvin Ridley might not be the best number 1, but Christian Kirk is one of the best number 2s in the league, and Zay Jones, one of the top tier number 3s in the league as well. When you start going down the list like that, it's such a deep receiver room. And then tight end wise, my biggest question is, will Brenton Strange get a lot of work again? He is someone that I don't mind, but if the Stars are playing a full half of football, will they give him that look? I think that they will, but obviously Evan Ingram firmly in play. I don't mind the idea of honestly running something out like this. I nearly took down a GPP on Friday night by doing this with the Detroit Lions. I was 2.3 points off. I messed up my flex, but this is certainly something I think will be a viable option. And I'll touch on the only reason why it won't be in the next game. And then from there, looking at Miami, guys, Miami is a little bit more difficult to figure out. We need to get news on if Mike White is going to be active or not. They did sign James Blackman on Monday, but Mike White has been someone that has been playing in practice. So my biggest question mark is Mike White going to play? And looking at the Miami Dolphins, yes, we do know that the starters are going to play. Just don't know how much they're going to play. And so for me, I think Skylar Thompson becomes one of the better options on this slate. Now, he has looked pretty bad thus far this preseason, but obviously if you're going to play that's going to allow playing time, that's intriguing to me. I don't expect Jeff Wilson Jr. to play. I don't expect HN to play as well. So that leaves us with a question mark. We know that Alec Ingold is a fullback. My question is, will Mostert start? The old veteran running back, it doesn't really make sense for him to play. And then just leaves us with us, or these three. I think for all of our builds, we want at least one of these running backs because the Miami Dolphins have looked so good at the running back position. Brooks has looked good in both games thus far. Ahmed looked really good last week. And then Myles Gaskin looked really good in week 1. So my expectation is that one of the running backs other than Wilson and HN are going to sit. I expect that to be Mostert. And heck, maybe another one sits as well. I doubt it, but maybe. But I do think we want to be running out one of those running backs at least. I'm going to go with Brooks for now, just because it makes the most logical sense for him to play. Then Ezekama, I still think is going to be a good play, guys. Braxton Berrios is someone that shouldn't give you a 0 on the slate. If you want to roll something like that, you could. And then Elijah Higgins has been someone that I've been looking at. I think he has a good chance to get some points on the slate. So maybe if you're trying to chase that game, you could. All right, so now looking at the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Dallas Cowboys. I want to start with the Cowboys because we know that Will Grier is actually going to get the full game. Kind of a bit of a shock because they just traded for Trey Lance. They're doing this as like a good deed to him. Grier has not looked good though, so it's like, all right, do we go with Trevor Lawrence playing a full half of football, with the starters, going against eventually Miami's backups in the second quarter, or do we go with Grier, who's playing the full game, who hasn't looked that good? I would say I kind of like Grier slightly more just because it's a full game, right? Like you can't mess it up that much. That being said, Las Vegas Raiders defense should be pretty good, but I think the top two plays will be Lawrence and Grier. We'll see. And then looking at Dallas, I don't exactly know what to expect other than that. Like Simi Fioco needs to have a good game, so I kind of expect him to get playing time, but there are still other good receivers there. You got Tolbert there, Stevens, I don't know if he's active or not, then check that. And then at the running back position, I think Rico Dwaddle and Deuce Vaughn both make sense to get some work again in this game. Obviously, Vaughn can catch the ball in the backfield. Rico looked really good last week as well. Both are kind of shoulder shrug plays. I think we prioritize the Miami Dolphins running backs and maybe potentially Zamir White as well for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, guys, I'm going back to the well with the same players that we've been on for the Raiders. Let's touch on those a little bit deeper. So, with Josh Jacobs officially signing, I really like the idea of going back to the well with Zamir White. Typically speaking, we see Josh McDaniels like to run a running back into the ground. They like to feature a running back. I think that could be Zamir White tonight just because he has been that guy. Do need to get news on kind of the running back room. They have Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden. One of these players is probably going to be inactive, or maybe a couple of them. It might not hurt to be on Twitter before lineup lock, just checking that. At the receiver position, I do like a few of these guys. We got Philip Dorsett, who is just a good receiver. If he's going against backups, that's something I like. Trey Tucker, someone that was gaining a lot of hype in the first game from the broadcast crew, actually looked pretty good last week as well. Nearly had a touchdown, probably should have had a touchdown. He is someone that could really go off and break the slate. The talent is there. It's just whether or not the Raiders want to give him that much playing time. And then Wilkerson as well. Wilkerson going to be one of my favorite plays on the slate. He just typically is a good preseason receiver. We saw that last week. I kind of expect that to occur again this week. And then, defensively, I kind of want to roll, I think, with the Raiders. And I might even be fine with rolling with Will Grier as well. Like, both can work, which is weird about preseason DFS. And now getting into the last game, I do want to mention Ronnie Rivers. I put this on my Twitter, guys. Ronnie Rivers has looked good. Honestly, he's a really good deep fantasy football sleeper. Now, Kyren Williams been really good out of the backfield, I guess, catching the passes and whatnot. I'm not that impressed with Cam Akers last year. So, Ronnie Rivers, just be on the lookout for him. But he is someone that I do think could actually go out and have another good game. He's just looked that good. If the workload's going to be there for him, if he's going to get, 6 to 12 opportunities, he could take advantage of that. At the receiver position, we did see last week the Rams go away from Puka. They're I think he's going to be their receiver number 3, has a chance to be the receiver number 2 by year end. They limited his snaps, so they might do that again this week. I do think Tyler Johnson is kind of going to be the receiver play. He's kind of the logical play. Has looked good. He just has some mental mistakes. And then Davis Allen, he's a guy that I'm wondering, can he repeat? He had a really big week last week. He's going to be one of my favorite tight end plays on the slate. Probably someone we want to be prioritizing. And then looking at Denver, the starters are expected to play only one series. That kind of makes Denver difficult as a whole. They're pretty banged up at the receiver spot as well. Ben DiNucci is expected to get the most snaps at quarterback, but honestly, it kind of just feels like a toss-up. And guys, that's going to be it for this video. Just remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on. You get access to the NFL DFS lineup optimizer if you use the promo code PLAYOFFS, and if you're a new member. Get 50% off your first month, so it's a $10 membership, get it for $5. That's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the coverage. If you did, you know what to do. Get that like and subscribe. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.